Here we are. Wow, it's the new year and happy new year to everybody. We're here for another Good Gut Live. For those watching live, thank you. We really appreciate you. And we know that there's a lot to watch out there, but we appreciate for you being here with Good Gut Live. For those not familiar, my name is James Marin. I'm an integrative registered dietitian, environmental nutritionist.
I'm Deli Marin, integrative dietitian, certified gastrointestinal nutritionist, and the other co-founder of Married to Health.
And we are joined by a really special guest, and we love having guests and very knowledgeable guests. And so we're here with Elizabeth Aylor, also known as Elizabeth Aylor Fitness. Elizabeth, intro yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
I had my own health journey. I had 15 types of parasites, H. pylori, SIBO, mast cell activation, mold toxicity. I lost my period for 7 years. And my whole thing is I heal people. So I have my degree in kinesiology. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, holistic nutritionist, GAPS practitioner, and FDN. And I've worked with over 2,000 women around the world. And I focus on fat loss, but everything to me is linked on the gut. So by healing their gut, I help women, transform their body, heal their relationship with food, balance out their hormones, but do it all sustainably.
Love it, man. There's so much there. We can truly. I mean, there's so many avenues to go down. But a lot of what you said really resonates. I know we talk a lot about like mast cell activation syndrome and all of these gut hormone connections. And yeah, that amenorrhea. Like I haven't had, the female patients who haven't had a period, and just so much going on. And you see this. We always say the gut is the nexus of all health, not just for your body, but for the planet. Even we go even broader than that, but definitely focused on the body is we always liken it to like this beautiful river. It's like the Nile River. And from this healthy river flows all of these other ecologies and ecosystems and civilizations. If that river stops, if that river's polluted, oh my gosh, everything else is done for because we don't have the water, we don't have the animals, we don't have all this abundance. So there's so many places to go, but I mean, do you want to jump right into, I know Dahlia was saying, I mean, one of the things we're seeing, and we'd love your feedback on this, is like this exercise induced IBS. Are you also seeing that where your clients or patients are like, man, I want to run this triathlon, or I'm trying to like be at this elite level of fitness, but man, my gut is a wreck.
Absolutely. What I see is I work specifically a lot with women that are, hitting their late 30s, going into 40s, that perimenopause time. And that's almost like our second puberty. And during that time, it's like you're going through a second puberty, but now you have work stress, life stress, kids, and now your body's completely changing. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Because what used to work doesn't work. So
Mhm.
I see a lot of people actually getting told that they have IBS, but they're chronically stressed out. They're not sleeping good. They're running around all the time. They're not even sitting down with eating their meals. So all the blood is just not even going towards digestion. It's going towards the external extremities. So I think
Mhm.
a lot of things that I see is I'll have women going to the bathroom up to 17 times a day, unable to leave the house. And just by focusing on their nervous system and the way in which we're eating our food, sitting down, being present with our meals, getting off the social media platforms for it, and even eating more warming, grounding foods to nourish the gut, it really helps stop these issues. And people are able to actually have their life again. But I think stress, the way in which we're eating, our nervous system, all of that contributes to, I had the IBS so bad as well because I even had Klebsiella, and my body got to a place where, I couldn't even sleep through the night because I would wake up several times a night running to the restroom.
Mm.
Wow.
Mhm. And yeah, it's, IBS is its whole thing where it is more predominant in women. Over 60% of those living with IBS are women, and absolutely our hormones make our gut nerves more sensitive to what's going on in and around the gut. And then when you add exercise in there, exercise is amazing, right? But it is a minor stress. And I love what you're saying that some people are already just at their max, not managing their stress well, not balancing their nervous systems. And so when you then have already this overflowing abundance of stress, and you're like, I'm going to train for a marathon. Your body is like, no, thank you. I can't. That's too much for me. So on top of it, not only being a healthy stressor, if you can handle that type of stress, and depending on the type of exercise, There are microbial changes that will happen as well when you exercise, especially if you're doing some type of endurance exercise. So my triathletes, my runners, my patients who say, I'm wanting to enhance my exercise performance, but I can't because I will have that diarrhea in the middle of my run. I will have that stomach ache. I will be doubled over. I just can't break this plateau because my gut is holding me back. They don't realize there are also physiological reasons for that. That one, once our heart rate increases to a certain point, it is going to then trigger the release of adrenaline, right? We need that adrenaline to give us that energy boost. But when we get to a certain VO2 max, we are going to release that adrenaline and we are going to release histamine. That's why some people will say, oh my gosh, I just get so flushed when I exercise, or I break out into rashes when I exercise. So the body is giving off this adrenaline to help you, but as part of the adrenaline release, we will release histamine. And so that can be uncomfortable for people who are dealing with things like a hyperpermeable gut or a leaky gut, and they can't break down the histamine. Or maybe, like you mentioned, they might be living with mast cell activation syndrome and they're just making more histamine than they can break down. So, uncomfortable things like that can happen during exercise. And then, depending on who's living in your gut, Elizabeth, you mentioned you had all kinds of bugs in there, Klebsiella, you had parasites. These bugs are not just living in isolation. They create around themselves this protective film called lipopolysaccharide, and it's a protective sheet of biofilm. And that actually gets broken down, just like our muscles get slightly broken down with exercise so they can build back even stronger and healthier. This lipopolysaccharide, which can be embedded into the gut lining, it gets broken down as well at a certain level of exercise. So between that, those could be some of the reasons why somebody might experience that. And even just the jumping, the jostling, the moving, if you're constipated and then suddenly you've sat all day, didn't eat much fiber, and you're going on a run, or you're doing, jumping jacks or burpees, that's going to jostle some things right out.
So I want to pose this to both of you then, because a lot of, like, right now we're seeing it in our gym. It's packed. Like, it could be
New year,
someone
new me.
who's super stressed, been on the couch,
Yes.
who's been in the office, and now they're like, okay, I'm joining the gym. I'm doing this triathlon. I'm going hardcore. Like, what would you say to them? Because if they are, like, everything you guys just went through, they're having all these underlying issues they're not even aware of. What do you tell that client? Like, we'll start with you, Elizabeth. Like, where do you start with someone who's been doing nothing? Maybe they've been inactive for years. They have all these underlying issues. Where do you even start with them?
So everyone that I see right now, of course, women, we want to lose stubborn fat, and because the body starts changing. But everyone thinks it's as simple as cut the calories, add in more cardio. And I think a big thing that I ask them first is, what is actually going on with your body? How's the sleep? Do we have thyroid issues, or have we even had the right thyroid test done? Because doctors only run the TSH and the T4, not the active form, which is the T3. So everything could look fine. And then there actually be an underlying thyroid issue that slows the metabolism. How's your gut? Are you getting bloated after your meals? Are we struggling with constipation? Because by just focusing on cutting the calories and adding more cardio and not looking at the individual, if they're a busy mom, if they have a crazy schedule, I've had some people tell me all of these other health issues and surgeries and things that they've gotten done, or they've been on years of birth control. So I look at that person's lifestyle and what their health conditions are first and say, how can we create sustainability? Because if you don't see yourself doing something, 5 years from now, all these crazy fad diets, I've done them from carnivore to fruitarian. I lived off of bananas. You
Wow.
name it. Juice fasting, it's not going to be sustainable because you won't be able to fit it with your lifestyle. So I think a big starting point is we always want to prioritize, getting some strength training in. So I say, instead of going toward a 7 day a week, 6 day a week bodybuilder, can we just train at home and do more of a full body approach, getting the compound lifts in? That's going to help, build the lean muscle mass, and that's going to help give us that body composition change. Where are our steps at? 5K steps is considered sedentary. So let's try to just get more movement throughout the day. Even going on a post meal walk to help with our insulin sensitivity is just a great way to help with digestion and insulin resistance that we get as we get older. And then, addressing those other aspects as it come along. What can we do to improve the sleep? If we have a crazy stressed out life, which a lot of us do, and we're having issues slowing the mind, why don't we try, a brain dump before bed? Clean off the mind, write everything down so that you're able to fall asleep and you get more structure with time blocking. So I feel like it's not as simple as, just add in more cardio, just move your body more. It's what other areas in our life are we having challenging with so that we're able to lower the stress in our life, because it's always going to be there, but we can optimize it more. And then looking at what nutrition changes we can make if we do have gut issues, or, if we do have histamine issues, because it's grabbing all the bars and the shakes, if we have IBS too, all those gums and xanthan gums and additional ingredients, and even a lot of people are sensitive to dairy as they get older, then those could be a contributing factor for you having the gas, having the bloating, having, the breakouts, the itchy skin going on too.
Totally.
I love that. It's so important. And I read a statistic today that said it's the second Friday of the year. By this time, a majority of people have filled their New Year's resolutions because, as you mentioned,
Wait, failed?
they
You
have,
said failed?
yeah,
Oh,
they've
failed.
kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
given up, failed on their resolutions because it might not be sustainable. And one thing I always encourage people to do is look forward, not back. Because so frequently people want to tell me, well, I used to do track. I used to play football. I used to lift 6 days a week. And it's like, well, did you have kids and a career and all the other things you have now then? Probably not. So that may have worked for you then. And that's great that it worked for you then. Is that realistically going to work for you now? Probably not. So look forward and look at what you have today on your plate and start there. And there's a reason why slow and steady wins the race is a very common phrase. It is so true. So it's like, that's great that you used to train 15 hours a week and you had 11% body fat. That might not ever be the case in the future, and that's okay. You're in a different stage of life. You're in a different place hormonally, financially, mentally, physically. Work with what and who you are today.
Yeah. I want to break the fourth wall a little bit. And for those listening later on Spotify or Apple, wherever you're listening, and you're walking right now, great. You're getting in those steps. So, hi, you're listening to this while walking. That's wonderful. And then, yeah, there's so much there where it sounds like, I mean, what you're both kind of saying is, yeah, it goes back. And what we echo here is like a customized approach because without knowing it, or you don't know kind of like you're saying with all these changes over the years of even your relationship and the kids and career, all these changes of what you used to be in high school or early college, it's like, as many or as long as it took you to kind of get in a place where you're not feeling the best, it might take you that long to get out of it in a realistic way because you're not thinking about your thyroid. You're not thinking about your parasitome and virome and microbiome and all these other things. And you're like, wow. And so as you start, like with the first step, you might realize, oh, wow, there's maybe 200 steps in between of me, okay, building that six pack or whatever your ultimate goal is, but it starts with at least a first step, which is great. And I think again, that's why, yeah, Elizabeth, when we saw who you were and we first heard about you, we did like that approach. You're taking an integrative approach of going, hey, I'm not just going to take on a client and okay, they want a six pack or they want this. We're going to get them there the fastest way possible. It's like, no, let me truly assess what's going on. Let me truly assess, a lot of what's underneath at the foundation and have that customized approach. That is an integrative root cause approach, which is so needed. I'm sure you see this a lot. I mean, we see this of like, it's easy to lose weight, but it's a lot more difficult to have healthy body composition that is sustainable. And like you're saying, it's not this like quick fix type of thing. What have you seen with that, or like what are some of your kind of takeaways with some of the quick fix stuff out there? Because it's really easy to lose water weight and glycogen, but like,
And muscle.
what have you seen are like a long lasting? I guess when it comes to fitness, when it comes to women's fitness, especially.
Yeah. I think that a lot of women more towards go towards those quick fixes. We
Mhm.
have a lot of GLP-1s and different, fat loss supplements and things out there right now. But I have actually a lot of women that come to me that are afraid to get off of it because they get to this place where, their appetite's suppressed, or they, did all these things in the past that used to work. And now they're afraid to get off of it because they have fear of carbs. They have fear of fats. They don't want to gain the weight again. Even going towards these lower carb diets, I said I did carnivore. I did carnivore because I ended up in my apartment in Miami. I didn't know that I was actually getting chronic mold toxicity. So
Mm.
after spending a decade healing my body from chronic gut issues, my thyroid made reverse T3 of 90, which is the metabolite. It ate away 10 years of my muscle. I lost 20 pounds in a week on 4,000 calories. And I had to figure that out myself, test myself. And because the doctors, they weren't listening to me.
Mm.
So what I see right now is, with the fast fixes, or come back to what was the question? I'm losing my thought. I'm going somewhere else.
No, yeah, no, no, yeah, like quick fixes, like just kind of quick fitness fixes, like you're saying, like whether that is like a GLP-1 or like a yeah, you're talking about like extreme elimination diets of just going, I'm gonna
Yes.
cut out all carbs or all
Okay.
fats or all yeah, I mean, no, you're hitting it for sure. But
So,
I love what you've been through. Like hearing that is amazing.
thank you. Yeah. So with the keto and carnivore, a lot of women don't understand that for every 1 gram of carb, your body holds on to 3 to 6 grams of water. So when you initially just cut all these carbs down in your diet, you may feel leaner and a lot lighter. But when you get the cravings, and you go towards the carbs again, that water weight comes back on. But a lot of women don't understand that that happens with carbs. It doesn't do that with fats and protein. It's not a bad thing. And also carbs regulate cortisol levels. So I see it in a lot of women, even when it was myself, when my carbs got to that, keto carnivore side, I felt great for the first few weeks, but then my sleep started going. Then I was getting more chronic anxiety and irritability because my cortisol was just spiking through the roof. My thyroid was getting thrown off. So with every diet extreme that we see out there, from, fat loss pills to, just cutting all carbs out, or, cutting out fats that we need for our hormone production, and absorption of our fat soluble vitamins. I think a big thing is not focusing on the diet, but when you focus on your gut health and you're better able to absorb and assimilate your nutrients, your energy is going to go up. Your cravings are going to go away. Even another big thing that I see is a lot of individuals struggle with sleep, and they're waking up several times throughout the night, whether it's a pee or the mind's racing. But if we're not getting enough fuel in the tank and the right fuel in the tank, your blood sugar could be crashing in the middle of your sleep. So while we're trying melatonin and all of these different things, just by adding in, a meal prior to bed, a small amount, I have clients able to sleep through the night after years of being on, sleep medication.
Mhm.
So a big thing that as we talked about, is sustainability, but you have to look at, where are you trying to get with that diet? Is it sustainable for you coming back to that? And even with the GLP-1s and everything, a lot of individuals don't understand that that works on the leptin and the ghrelin. So your hunger and satiety cues. So you feel fuller, you feel satiated. But if you're going and you're a woman hitting perimenopause, your mid 40s, that's 10 to 15 years where your body's changing. And on top of that, you're losing muscle at a faster rate. So if you're taking these and you're eating a lot less calories, then you may not be getting enough protein to maintain your muscle. If the fitness isn't going with it, then you're not going to have the strength training to maintain that. So, hello, body composition changes. Hello, bone density as you're getting older. And then you're eating a lot less food at the same time. And you're just I see a lot of women develop an unhealthy relationship with food because
Mhm.
they don't understand and they don't look at the food quality when they do eat too.
As integrative registered dietitians for over a decade, we use enzyme therapy. Enzyme therapy is key in our Heal with Each Meal protocols. And with that, it allows a lot of our patients who are struggling to incorporate fruits and tubers and roots and vegetables and seeds and even dry fruit because of the fructose to better tolerate those foods. Remember, the goal is about adding back food diversity, adding back foods into your diet, not just eliminate, and staying on an extreme elimination diet. Enzymes like Intoleron, and we trust brands like Intoleron because they make quality enzymes with ingredients that you can actually trust, with formulations that actually work, because we've used it on hundreds, if not thousands, of our patients in our practice to help them incorporate these whole foods, these healthy foods that are gonna help you build your gut microbiome. Learn more about Intoleron down below. You can click down below, and we use it in our practice here at Married to Health. We trust it, and we'll continue to properly vet and properly curate supplements and therapies you can use in your everyday life. Thank you so much for trusting Married to Health and all of our integrative registered dietitians that are extremely dedicated to helping you heal with each meal. Man, so much there. Well, one thing I'll say too is fiber. I mean, it's so refreshing for more people to be saying like eat carbs.
Especially in the fitness world. I feel like that's so heavily restricted in the
Yeah.
fitness world because people don't want bloat. They want abs. And they say, nope, that fiber gives me bloat. So it's just not worth it to eat the fiber. And they're so constipated. They may look amazing, but they usually don't feel amazing. And I've known that. I have so many friends who are professional athletes, personal trainers. And so I know they're like, oh my gosh, my coworkers need you because they poop once a week or they, all these things that you're saying they're experiencing. So it's like, that's great. You look amazing for now. But again, like you mentioned, Elizabeth, is this sustainable? Is this something that is sustainable for my whole body? Because it's like, maybe it's sustainable for you to look good, but do you actually feel good? And is it sustainable for your hormones? Is it sustainable, like you said, for your mental health? Is it sustainable for your microbes? Because I do think people confuse lack of symptoms with healing. I think they go on these very restrictive, extreme elimination diets. And of course, you're not going to have symptoms on that. There's what is there to feed off of? If you're only eating protein, if you're only eating a few types of fruit, there's not really much there for your own body, but also your microbes and your other gut bugs to feed off of. And so people think, oh, I'm cured. My IBS is gone. My SIBO is gone. My whatever is gone. And I just need to avoid that forever and it's going to stay away. That doesn't mean you healed because if when you eat something again, it comes back, that means you're not healed. You are just temporarily avoiding the issue. And so I think it's so important for people to realize that these habits need to be long term, they need to be sustainable, they need to be pretty sensible where it's like, can you afford this forever? Can you implement this forever, or at least for the next 5 years? Can you continue to enjoy this for the next several years? And can your gut continue to feel good on this way of eating? Not to say there's never a time or a place for elimination diets, but really they should be weeks long, not months or years long. And I feel like that's where people get confused and convoluted and they get really emotional because they're like, no, this helped me feel better, this works. And it's like, that's great, it did work temporarily and it helped symptomatically temporarily, but it didn't heal you.
And we get both. I mean, we talk a lot about carnivore. Like, definitely, it's an extreme elimination diet. It's not sustainable. But we're also unbiased. Like, we love plants. We promote eating plants, and I mean, they're key. But also, in the same token, like you mentioned, eating like 50 bananas a day, also as a fruitarian, is also an extreme elimination diet. And
Mm.
you're also not. That's also not sustainable and not going to help you. And you'll maybe feel better for a little while, but that's not promoting an amazing gut. It's not promoting a sustainable long-term gut microbiome. And so it's so important. How did you find yourself there? Or so you went, I guess, how quickly was that extreme for you? Because I've never been, I remember my early 20s, I guess you could say I was on a low carb diet. I was definitely like trying to be bodybuilder and just
He was
eating
on that
tons of
CRB diet,
protein,
that chicken, rice, and broccoli.
chicken, rice, broccoli. I feel
Worst
like
protein breath ever.
yeah. Just the protein breath and all. And it's like, I was still eating some carbs, but then I don't think I've ever gone like full carnivore as a young adult, but I feel like that's so common now. For you, what was that timeline of being a carnivore and then being,
We're getting you there.
or yeah, what was that like for you?
So I'm gonna try to shorten the timeline because it's
Yeah.
kind of like a all over the place. But when
Mhm.
I was younger, I had the eczema, rosacea all over my face and body. I had all these gut issues. I had asthma. I was on Singulair, but the gut wasn't anything that anyone ever talked about. And growing up in Miami, I think there could have been, something in my environment triggering those things since, mold and everything ended up showing up for
Very
me.
wet and
Um,
humid there for
yes.
sure.
But I was over 200 pounds. So I one day had bumped into a girl at school. I had chronic OCD. The doctors put me on medication, antidepressants. I was homeschooled. And in 1 year, I gained over 50 pounds. I was eating my feelings away. That ended up developing into a chronic eating disorder. So I dropped down. I got down to 90 pounds. And it was like my all time low. And after that, I went more vegetarian. So I wanted to kind of, I was trying to find a healthy medium with everything. And I think my mindset was always focused on kind of diet dogma. I was never satisfied. I saw this girl that was bullied and called fugly and fish face, and no one liked her. So I was always trying to go to that next level. My friend was vegetarian. So I'm like, I'm going to go vegetarian. And that vegetarian, I got to a healthy weight, but then I'm like, what's the next place I can go? Vegan. Okay. What's the next place I can go? Let's go raw vegan. So then I did the 80-10-10 diet. If you guys don't know what that is, that's 80% carbs, 10 fat, 10 protein. You're basically just eating a couple pounds of fruit at every meal, a pound of dates or, 4 mangoes. And I lived on this diet for over 7 years. I felt great for the first year. I was going to farmers markets, everything. And then I ended up waking up one morning 6 months pregnant.
Mm.
That's when I was started going to all the GI doctors, trying to figure out what was going on. I had chronic constipation no matter how many laxatives I took. And I ended up finding out through stool testing that I had the 15 types of parasites, the H. pylori. My levels were the highest they've ever seen. My stomach was burning all of the time. And I spent my whole college years just basically gallbladder cleansing, small intestinal cleansing, herbs. I was trying to run a marathon while heal my gut, get my degree in kinesiology. And I had 30 pounds of toxemia for all of my college years sitting in my stomach. So I'm trying to do this diet. I'm working with all the top people, that are in the raw food world. That wasn't working. And then when I graduated and I moved to LA, that's when I shifted off of that diet. I gave it one more go and I slowly integrated, bone broth, eggs, and got myself back to I guess, a healthy diet that has food in it from animals. And I healed my gut. I spent years doing that. I got on my bodybuilding journey. And then when I got to that place and I ended up moving a few years ago and the mold toxicity and everything came, all of my histamine issues came back, the mast cell activation. So in between me with all those chronic gut issues, going from the more fruitarian, that in between period, there was a good decade where I lived off of white rice, chicken, and coconut oil, your low FODMAP, very minimal, because like you said, every time I would add something back in, my body would ferment it and I would feel worse. So I was taking tons of laxatives. I was on a minimal diet. Then after healing myself, all of those issues came back. And I didn't know it was the mold toxicity. My nose was running everywhere. I was getting ulcers in my throat, like blood blisters that would split. I had chronic anxiety again that I haven't had in years, to where they wanted to put me on Xanax. And that's when I was like, carnivore's big, I'm going to go here. And it put me in a hole. I will say that. I was doing it the low histamine ways, making my own tallow. I've done the GAPS diet. And it took me mentally a lot to get off of that, because when you do something like that, it makes you, because I work with a lot of women coming off of carnivore with chronic gut issues and I help heal them. It makes you fear carbs. It makes you fear food. It makes you feel like if you add in anything, you're going to react and you're going to be back in a hole. So it's really about creating a healthy relationship with food. And even for people that are out there listening to this, struggling with gut issues, find somebody that has been through what you have and understands it, and that could help you step by step add in those foods and expand your diet, or else you are going to be stuck there. And
Mhm.
there's always a reason why your body can't overcome that. So that was like a shortened version of that. And I've had 150 colonics in the making too. Yeah.
Mhm.
In
Oh,
3
wow.
Oh,
years.
well, I'm so sorry you went through that. And
Mhm.
it is human nature to do exactly what you did. We just think, okay, this food makes me feel bad, cut it out. That food now makes me feel bad, cut it out, cut it out. That's the one controllable factor that we all have in our lives. No matter who you are, where you are, for the most part, that's the one thing in life we control. We can't always
Mhm.
control our mood, we can't always control our environments, our circumstances, but we can control our food. And so when something's going wrong, that's the first thing we want to control is the food. And so we always, use the analogy of debt with our patients of it sounds like you got into a situation where you were in deep gut debt. You had a lot of liabilities and not enough assets to balance it out, and you were in deep debt. And so you just kept saying, okay, well, let me get rid of this and that and this and that and this and that. And you just kept getting yourself into deeper and deeper and deeper debt. And what elimination diets are is kind of like saying, well, I just think that if I change my email and my phone number and I just move, then these creditors will stop bothering me. And I'm not in debt anymore, right? I don't get these signals that I'm in debt. I don't get the messages. It's fine. I'm done. I'm out of debt. And it's like, no, because again, it comes back. Once you try to eat that food again, once you try to, just like in debt, you try to go buy a home or a car, you have terrible credit. You're still in debt. Just because you ignored things or avoided them, the problem didn't go away. And again, the problem wasn't the food to begin with. Yes, certainly some foods are more nutritious than other foods. Ultra processed foods are never going to make your gut feel amazing, no matter who you are and how amazing your gut health is. We can all agree on that, no matter what camp you're coming from. But it's not the food, it's the system. When you're trying to put this very complex, beautiful, fiber rich, protein rich, carb rich, fat rich, element into a broken system, the system is still broken. You never fixed the system. So it's so important to realize that, hey, are you still in debt? Do we need to create a financial plan to step by step get you out of that and fix your credit and fix the system as a baseline so that no matter what foods you try to put in, if you're putting in FODMAPs, it's not a problem. If you're putting in sulfur, if you're putting in histamines, if you're putting in anything else, it's not going to be a problem because we fix the system. And we are so excited to be talking to you on this episode. The reason we got into this is because I lived with my own decades of gut issues as well. And same, it's very easy for me to have wanted to say that. It's the almonds, it's the soy, it's the this, it's the that. And yeah, if I just go gluten-free and now I'm a gluten-free vegan and now I'm low FODMAP gluten-free vegan and now, and you just get further and further down these rabbit holes, the system is still broken. So it's so important to fix those things. So that way, if you want to be on a plant-based diet and it's a well varied, protein sufficient, fat sufficient plant-based diet, you can, and you can thrive on that long term. If you want to add animal products to your diet and your system is fixed, you should be able to and eat fiber along with it, and it's not a problem. So I think people often, yes, do need that guidance, because if you're just going with your intuition, our human intuition is going to steer us in the wrong direction when it comes to gut issues.
Yeah, I mean, like intuition's great, but yes, you got to have that discernment.
Gotta have
Like
wisdom plus
wisdom
intuition.
without wisdom, yeah, it can get you in a lot of trouble. And so, and but to comment with that gut debt analogy, what's interesting is the people online, like on TikTok and on Instagram, and I won't name names, but there are
Mm,
people online who, in the same time, a lot of people have gut debt. Dahlia had gut debt as well. There are people born into a gut trust fund where
hmm
they can do a lot of this crazy stuff and it's not affecting them in the same way, especially when they're men. I will say there is more of for many many factors, but we're seeing this in the research where more women are going to suffer with autoimmune and with GI issues. It's just what we're seeing in the research. And so there are some women who can have this gut trust fund. Mom is very healthy. They have a great family, no trauma. I mean, there's so many
A
layers to
great
this,
diet
right?
from the
Great
beginning.
diet, great pregnancy. Grandma was the same. They lived in a great environment, no environmental toxicities. But we do know there are transgenerational effects going on. If great grandma was exposed to pesticides and DDT back in the day,
Trauma.
trauma, and then grandma and mom, that is transgenerational. The microbiomes are transferring, the genetic materials transferring, and it's there. You can literally be born in a deficit and not even know it. And in the same way, you could be born into a trust fund and not even know it. And then you're out there with the trust fund and talking like, eat steak and salt all day. And it's like, well, okay, it's working for you. And maybe it's working for more than months, but even years, but you're not even realizing you've been born into a gut trust fund. And many people are just not at that level. And so we love this because definitely there's a lot of people listening who are plant-based. There's a lot of people listening who are mixed. It's nice to see this. It is about this balance. It's coming together and going, hey, we need to find this balance. It's so key.
And we need to realize just because someone's out there and is talking about things, it doesn't mean they're qualified or they're healed themselves to be
Yeah.
giving advice, right? So frequently, I listen to things people are saying, and I'm like, that person clearly has an eating disorder. And they're trying to share that disordered advice with others, and they're not in a healthy place themselves, you can tell. Or they're like, oh, I have SIBO and I cured it because I just don't eat anything, and it's like, you're not healed. And so it's so important that, just like we said, for you to, yes, go with your intuition, but also use that wisdom discernment. If you're following someone, you need to know that they're on the other side, that they were able to get through it. And they're, again, not just on a disordered eating pattern or an extreme elimination diet. And that's what they're going to expect for you to do as well. That's not healthy. It's not sustainable. It's not good advice at the end of the day.
And Elizabeth, I mean, what were some of your, I guess, support systems like? Because it's so easy to say that. I know you kind of give us the cliff notes, but like even with Dahlia, I mean, it's there was a lot there where you have these light bulb moments, or you're doing the research and you're going like, wow, okay, I need to make these changes, or this seems healthier and more balanced, or I'm gaining that wisdom and able to apply it, and okay, this makes sense. I guess were there certain either people or things or places, or how did you find that support and almost like digging yourself out of that hole? What were some key, I guess, key tips and takeaways from that?
I think that I'm not the normal person. Since I had all these chronic health issues, I didn't have a normal college. I wasn't out partying. I was inside studying and trying to heal my body because I was in such chronic pain. So from afar, I moved away from my family there in Florida. I went all the way to Tennessee and LA. So my parents were always so supportive to me. Anything, any diet, anything that I was trying, they always just wanted me to feel better. But it takes someone to really have gone through that to understand what it's like living off of two ingredients. My family would want to go to dinner on holidays, everyone drinks and goes out. I couldn't go anywhere because I couldn't eat the food. If the food was in the certain oil or whatever it was, I'm
Spices.
yeah, I'm over here having a reaction. So I was very alone in it. Um, I felt like I very much secluded myself, and I put everything, I would say, over the last probably my whole life into just research. So when I'm over here having the chronic issues, I'm like more degrees, more studying, more research, more practicing on myself. It's me and my French bulldog. And I've That's what it's like when I had all the mold toxicity and everything. I took my little bit of time that I have because I have my 5 social media platforms that I do everything for and all my clients. And I went back to school to become a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So I went and I ran my Dutch test. I ran my mold test. I ran my stool test. I figured out I had the Klebsiella. I figured out I had the mold. I figured out I had the MTHFR gene mutation. And then I sat there and I researched all of it and I structured my protocol, and then I'm doing my protocol. And so I think everything that I've put in with my time is I work around 7 days a week, but I would spend 50% of that on research, implementation, studying everything to heal myself. And then I have my training because I train for High Rocks as well. And then my clients and my social media. So I go, go, go. My family supports me, but I'm kind of like a one woman shop, kind of just trying to emotionally support myself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and your dog helps that he's part of the care team of the emotional support.
The mold almost killed him. He ended up in that
Mm.
apartment. He got hemorrhagic diarrhea and pancreatitis. And yeah, they just wanted to inject him with a bunch of, what do you call it, allergy shots. They put him on
Mhm.
dog food that he had a bad gut. I healed him with bone broth and slippery
Mm.
elm because he lost all his hair and
Mm.
everything.
Okay, this program is not for you if you're looking for a quick fix and you're not willing to put in the work. We have spent years and years creating a program that actually helps you get to the root of gut dysbiosis like SIBO and IBS, but it is not for you if you're looking to get better in just 1 week and something very, very quick. We have made it simple, affordable, and go at your own pace, but you still will be the one putting in the work to get better and truly overcome your SIBO and IBS. Take advantage of the current sale price for the Good Gut SIBO IBS program because it will be ending soon. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, mold. We could do a whole episode on mold. We
That would be
probably
a good
need
one.
to and do like a panel because there's so
Mhm.
many great like mold experts and people have been through it. But oh
Mm.
man, we should do that. But and comment, let us know, guys, if we should do that. But where I was going with that is yes, I mean that's so important, especially like yeah, very humid areas. Miami, right? Florida, very humid, lots of storms. We see a lot of clients from the EU, like Great Britain. You're on this just wet
Mm.
island all the time, and
Texas, too.
Mm.
and where is
Mhm.
that?
Texas.
Or
Texas.
Texas, very humid. And so you have to think, okay, I'm living in a house of just drywall and wood and
Mhm.
insulation. It's very humid. What's growing in these
And
walls?
if you find, oh, when I went on vacation for that week, I slept the whole week and my gut felt great. And then right when I got home, my terrible anxiety and sleep issues and gut issues came back.
Mhm.
Look into your environment. So
And joint
important.
pain. Like joint pain,
Mhm.
I felt like I had rheumatoid arthritis through my whole body until I got out of that environment. So it's
Mm.
just like you have to look at those signs.
Yeah.
And let us know, Elizabeth, in all your research. I mean, we're of the mantra of like really there's no bad microbe like per se. Like we have a parasitome, we have a microbiome, we have, studies
Fungalome.
show, yeah, we have a fungalome. We breathe in 10 mold spores with every breath in the natural environment. However, microbes can be in the wrong places in the wrong concentration. So if you're living in an entirely mold infested home, you're breathing in way more than 10 mold spores with every breath, right? If you're having that SIBO, that overgrowth in your small intestine, you're having some microbes in the wrong place and then they're becoming in the wrong concentration. Would you agree with that, or would you have any objective to that?
Yeah, I think that, like we were kind of saying earlier, everyone's body is different in a
Mhm.
sense of like if someone like I have the MTHFR gene mutation, so their ability to actually detox and eliminate. I do believe that we all do have parasites and all that in our body, but if our body doesn't have enough of the good, or we're going through the chronic stress, or the diet and everything is wrong, then what could happen is that trauma, that big event could happen. You go through the divorce and everything kind of goes off track. And then all of a sudden you have these flares, and all of a sudden your body no longer, or you take those antibiotic course and your gut microbiome no longer can fight it. And now you're having all these symptoms. So I think it's the person's ability to detox. If they go through trauma and they have these periods of something bad happening. And then also we got to look at the food too, because like coffee is very high in mold. What's our diet looking like on top of it? And then one other thing I wanted to add in is because a lot of individuals I see with gut issues, because I was a supplement cabinet girl, is you see so much out there on these green powders. You see so much out here on these probiotics that are going to get the bloating away and get you pooping, and all of these fiber supplements, and even all the gut people saying, do the fermented foods, do the bone broth, do the sauerkraut. Well, if you have SIBO or if you have histamine issues, that bone broth is going to make you worse. Those fermented foods are going to make you worse too. Some of the strains of the probiotics could again make the SIBO worse, cause histamine issues going on. So following the generic advice my body reacted all to it. My clients, their body reacts to that. And it's about looking at exactly what is going on with your body and how we could overcome that, because you could be making yourself feel worse with all of the standard social media gut healing things that you see out there. I don't do bone broth and I'm a GAPS practitioner. I do low histamine meat stock out there because it's not the long simmer. You use the meatier cuts. Some of that's too detoxifying for an individual and could flare them up.
If you had to go back and you could go visit your past self and where you start with your clients, what would you say is a good few basic things to look at before you're buying all these supplements and eating only two foods? Or even if you're there, what's a place where you're like, this is low hanging fruit, let's start here, this is step one?
I would say step one is, I believe that gluten and dairy trigger a lot of people. So I would say clean up your diet a little bit. Try to cut out as much processed, cut out as much powder as you can, additional supplements because you don't know what's in those ingredients, and kind of bring it back. I love Ayurveda. So warming, grounding food, cook your food. Don't just eat raw salads and things that your body, if it's already having a hard time breaking down. I did so much of the raw, the cleansing, the juices, the big salads. Sometimes your body needs things to stimulate digestion. Bring in the herbs. I love kitchery. So clean up the diet, eliminate a lot of the process, warming and grounding. Second thing would be sitting down with your meals. Sit down with your meals. Our whole society, we used to sit with our family. We wouldn't have our phones out. We're so hidden, and it's almost like we're eating our food alone and we're on social media and we're stressed out, or we're running like the busy mom. Just by sitting with that meal, that's going to already help so much tremendously with bloating, digestion, and absorption when it comes down to it. And then I think the third one, there's so many I would want to say. Gosh. I would say if you're still dealing with the gut issues, it's find someone to kind of get to the root cause. Don't go buy more. Figure out what exactly is going on with your body. And a little kind of bonus one, because I wanted to throw this in, is do not just go do a kill protocol. Do not just say, I have parasites, I have SIBO, I'm going to go take this and kill and cleanse the candida. Because if you're already in a place of the gut debt and you're not sleeping and you're taking all these things, number one is you're going to completely change your gut microbiome, and it could be for the worse because it could be the wrong ones. And then second is your body, if you're not sleeping and stuff, all that stuff, if you have leaky gut, is going to polysaccharides, it's going to release when you're killing all the bad stuff, which is going to go into your bloodstream. You're going to get more bloated. You're going to be having more histamine reactions, more gas, and you're going to be just more breakdown than building back up. I restore my clients. I get them pooping first and eliminating before we would do anything for a kill. And I need proof of what's going on. So we're actually do it and get to 90 days versus just throwing little darts at the wall saying, hey, is this going to stick this time after I just went through this heck of a protocol over here and did all these things?
Yes, I love it.
Amen.
I love that.
it.
And overall, it's like order of operation, right? Like that matters tremendously because of like, it's like, okay, I'm ready to kill, but you're in a hole and you're throwing a grenade. The grenade's landed right by you. Boom, you just blew yourself up, right? If you get out of the hole and now I'm ready to do battle, throw the grenade, it's away from you, right? So there's definitely an order of operation to it. It's so key.
And yeah, just like we've all repeated so frequently, no two microbiomes are the same unless you've lived the exact same life, which is unlikely. I've had so many patients who are like, yeah, well, my daughter was doing a parasite cleanse, so I did it to support her. That's not how you can
Yeah.
support your daughter.
No.
You know, you can support in other ways, help her cook her meals, help her do some. Don't do a parasite cleanse if you don't need a parasite cleanse, or, you know, just because a full moon is coming up and people in your Facebook group are doing it. That is not what you need to jump on the bandwagon with. And yes, you do need to understand and have somebody guide you through that, because, you know, so frequently people are like, well, I can't afford to work with someone. How much have you spent on supplements and all these random tests that you ordered for yourself and all these random herbs and things you've ordered for yourself? You could have worked with someone 5 times.
Or like time, like how much is your
Yes.
time worth? You've been doing this for, we have patients who come to us, I've been dealing with this for 2 decades. And it's
5
like,
decades.
wow. So yeah, all of that. And there's so much here. Like there's so much nuance. I know we can't get to all of it in 1 hour or something like that. Like with Ayurveda and gaps and all. I mean, there's so much out there. But like
Yes.
I think overall there's so much a lot of practitioners agree on, like taking that individualized approach. We call it pre-digested foods, but it's along the same lines of going like, hey, it doesn't have to be raw foods
Hmm.
and raw juices. There's benefits to cooking it. That seems to blow people's mind when they're like, oh my gosh,
Or
yeah,
even
cooked foods,
frozen food.
even
People don't
frozen
realize
foods.
that
Yeah,
frozen foods are still great for you and they're kind of pre-digested by the ice. So it's like
ice.
use
Yeah,
vegetables that were pre-frozen and then cook them on top of that. That's a double digestion right there before you're even putting it into your broken system. So,
right.
so many of these basics we are often skipping over. You know, like you mentioned, Elizabeth, chewing. Like just sit
Yeah.
down, take a breath before you
Sit
eat.
and chew.
Just chew. You know, just break down your food a little bit more. People can feel so much better in just doing some of these things. Just breathe when you're on the toilet so you're not straining and giving yourself hemorrhoids.
Squatty
There's
potty.
so, yes, use a squatty potty. Like there's so many basics that
Mhm.
people just, again, it's not our human nature to think, oh, it's because I'm not chewing my food enough. It might be. That might be a part of it. And it's not all of it, but it can be a very healing part of it. So
For
it's,
sure.
I think, so important for people to have that and people to know that there are others out there available to help them and help them understand and, you know, translate because we've learned the language, we speak the language of the gut and metabolism and, you know, DNA, and we can translate and help them so that way they're not long suffering.
I love it. I mean, one more maybe question, but what's kind of your fitness routine looking like for 2026 or and yeah, what
It's
is that? Give us a glimpse.
So I went from competitive marathon runner to power lifter to bodybuilder. And then I've been bodybuilding for a good, I would say, decade. But after overcoming that mold toxicity, I was in such a low of just being so almost bedridden and so much pain that I didn't even have energy to move. So I recently, this year, I got back into, I love competition. So
Mhm.
I got back into actually started High Rocks because I have that running background because my energy is through the roof. I got my weight back to a healthy place. I put the muscle back on and I did my first High Rocks solo, a 112. And I'm going to Phoenix and then I got Miami going on. So I'm
Wow.
training for that right now. So my training has completely changed. I do threshold workouts with my runs. I have my zone 2 cardio that I'm doing. I'm working out on the ergs. And I also incorporate functional training, strength training into every routine. So at least 2 days a week, I'm hitting my core so I can stabilize, support my spine, you know, not just crunches, planks, cable chops, all those functional movement patterns. I do at least 2 lower body and 2 upper body days per week. Again, focusing on unilateral movement so that, you know, I'm correcting imbalances in the body. I focus on, you know, the hamstrings and glutes so I'm not getting injured with the high rocks and I'm actually able to strengthen my posterior chain and become faster. And in doing all of that, you know, I used to run 9 30-minute mile marathons. I haven't run for over a decade. I'm running a 640 right now. And that's just
Wow.
through, you know,
A
having the
six
strength.
40 mile.
Yeah.
Is that
For my
correct?
10K.
So for those that aren't familiar, like, a 6 minute and 40 second mile is extremely impressive. That's fast. You're fast. That's
Yeah, I want to get faster. That's the goal, but it's about
wow.
the balance of it all because we want to do it all. And I think even a lot of individuals, I work with Ironman athletes and everything, we think we need to do so many miles per week and all of them doing at our race pace and going as fast as we can. But the zone 2, mixing it with the thresholds allows you to, you know, hit it hard, get your speed up faster, but also build your aerobic engine so that you're able to
Mhm.
maintain that for distance. And then incorporating the strength training is going to help with your posture. It's going to help with your core. It's going to help with your running stride so that you're able to have your body composition, but also not be that person that's like falling apart in your races with Achilles issues and hip issues. And, it's about balance with it all. So a lot of food is what I'm eating right now. A lot of food.
That's so important. Now you're able to process this food, digest this food, and then it gets to go to your
Absolutely.
muscles and your joints and your lymphatic, and that's beautiful. I'm obsessed with the fascia. I'm obsessed with like proper walking and posture and how it, I mean, yeah, if you're leaning back too much and how it affects your glutes, and then you got the lower back pain. That is so cool. I love all of that. It's so important. Very exciting. Well, I mean, where can people learn more about you and follow you and see all of the content? I love like your workouts you're posting and all of your content. Where can they find you and find all of that?
Yeah, so I'm on every social media platform from TikTok to Threads to YouTube to Facebook to Instagram. I love to get diverse for everyone, but I would say if you want education, my YouTube is where it's at. I have my Iron Beauty podcast on there, everything's gut health, hormones, and then my Instagram has all of like just fun daily workouts, and I have stuff in my live, and then I also have a little masterclass that I do for a metabolic reset, and all of that is, in my Instagram bio as well.
Cool. Awesome. This is fun. I know we could talk a lot longer, but wow, this is great. And we know a lot of our listeners are going to learn a lot, take away some nice little nuggets, and keep learning and keep you can get to these fitness goals even when you're having these GI issues and you find yourself in these holes. And it is that customized approach, the order of operation, taking it kind of low and slow. And then you can get to maybe where you are, where you're not low and slow anymore. You're eating a lot and you're doing a lot and you're moving a lot, which is amazing. That's a true blessing for sure. That's very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for having this conversation. For those that want to learn more, links will be down below. If you're listening, watching later on the podcast, those watching live, thank you so much. As always, we like to say feel with each meal
And heal with each meal.
and
And
heal
if you
with
need
each
help
meal.
doing that, reach out.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. Until next time, we will see you on the Good Gut Live podcast.